boys and girls. Happy Thursday. Glad you're here with me. So this is our second and last time that I'll be reading to you over the internet like this on a video. Next week we'll be Zooming again. And I think by the time next week rolls around, we'll only have 2 more chapters to go. So I think we'll finish up next week. So what we'll do is finish up our book and rate our book. And then on that Thursday, we'll have a book party. So what you'll do is get any book that you love. Your favorite book that you love would be the most fun because you'll like talking about it. And you'll talk about that book and you'll share it with the group. All right? And then if you want to, we can have lunch while we're doing this. I just say we just have a Zoom book party. So that's what it'll look like next week. And for today, we're going to read chapter 10. And if it's really short, I might go ahead and read chapter 11. So you should go to page 60 to follow along with me. Okay? Chapter 10. Suspects by the dozen. And by now, we've talked about suspect a number of times, so I know you know what it means, right? Suspect are the people Jigsaw and Mila are looking at that they think might have done the crime in the pet store. I realized that my dog's hiding place was the missing piece of the puzzle. Faster than a dog can steal a shoe, it was clear that I had missed dozens of possible suspects. They were all at the scene of the crime, and they were still there. It was Saturday, the day of the contest. Mila met me at the store. When Rags and I got there, it was already crowded. Animals were barking and screeching and hissing. Rain was putting the finishing touches on the stage on the front of the counter. Folding chairs were set up all the way to the door. The place was a zoo. "What's up?" Mila said when she saw me. "Woof! Woof!" I held tight to Ragsy's leash. "Rags gave me a clue," I said. I told her what I had discovered. "He can't be the only animal in the world that likes to hide things." "But which animal is it?" Mila asked. "There must be dozens of suspects in the store." So we kind of know, don't we? Because of the contest, we kind of know some of the suspects in the store, right? We know there's a jumping frog. We know there's a cat who does flips. I wonder what you think. I wonder who you think might be the suspect. Because Jigsaw's pretty sure it's in the store, right? "But which animal is it?" Mila asked. "There must be dozens of suspects in the store." Then she snapped her fingers. Mila ran to the photograph on the wall. "Remember Rain's hair clip?" she exclaimed. "I bet that ferret was going after the clip in this woman's hair." Sure enough, Mila was right. In the photo, with the ferret on top of the woman's head, we could see part of a clip in the ferret's paw. Page 62. Jax did say ferrets were always getting into trouble, I remembered, but we weren't paying attention. "Now for the hard part," Mila said. "We have to find the ferret's hiding place." Rags and I headed to the back of the store. Mila took the front. Rags was panting and pulling on his leash. More kids were showing up. The show was minutes away, and the ferret was nowhere to be seen. Here's a up-close picture of the book. Look at Jigsaw. He doesn't look very good, does he? It looks like he's, oh my goodness, what are we going to do next? Mila shook her head as we met at the stage. "I asked Jax to help us," she said, "but curiosity isn't in any of his usual places." The seats were filling up. Miss Gleason waved at me. Danica was talking to Jax. It seemed like everyone from room 201 was in the store. Page 64. "Any luck?" Rain asked me hopefully. I frowned. "That's okay," she said with a smile. "At least you tried, and the show must go on. You and Rags are last, right after the Wingnut O'Brien hamster act." My stomach flipped and my knees flopped. Rags and I were about to go down in history as the worst pet trick ever. Mila found a seat. She held on to Rags while I searched the supply closet. "Welcome to the first annual Fur, Fins, and Feathers Talent Show," Rain announced. Everybody cheered. I stood in the dark closet and tried to think like a ferret. It wasn't easy. I looked behind the bags of dog food. In the distance I heard Helen's poodle bark in French. Wee! 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 Lucy Hiller went, then Joey with his crazy worm trick, and one by one I heard contestants show off their pets as the crowd cheered. I looked behind every bag, box, and can. No ferret. Wingnut O'Brien and his hamster Hermie, I heard Rain announce. Rags and I were next. He had never once done his trick, and the grand prize was still missing. I felt like a failure. I headed back to Mila and Rags. Wingnut was singing a duet with Hermie. The hamster squeaked along to Mary Had a Little Lamb, and the crowds roared with laughter. Just great, I thought. Rags and I have to follow the best act in the show. Hey, boys and girls, here's something I thought you would like to do that had to do with this week's chapter, chapter 10. You could put at the top, I'll read this to you, it says chapter 10, right? And it says write words from the chapter for the following categories. So you could create a puzzle. If you don't have a printer at home, that's okay. You can sure make this on another piece of paper. You could draw out this picture on a piece of paper and make your own puzzle. But here's what might be fun. I like words. I love working with the words. So the first piece of the puzzle said, it said words that make me laugh. So what words in chapter 10 made you laugh? Or what words in the whole book made you laugh so far? One of mine was when Jigsaw Jones said, yowza. That one made me laugh. So try and think of some words that made you laugh. The other puzzle says, I have to turn my head and read it sideways. It says words that Jigsaw Jones uses. Huh, I just said what, didn't I? Yowza, because wasn't that Jigsaw Jones who said that word? But you could look for other words that Jigsaw Jones uses. I think he uses a lot of phrases that are kind of joke phrases. Like he jokes a lot. Like he says one thing and it could have two meanings. You could even look for something like that. The other one is words that I don't know. So remember, we've been talking about tricky words mostly through the book. So if there are some words that were tricky to you, write them down and we'll talk about them. There were some that were real tricky. So see if you can find at least 3 in the book. You could just take your finger and go through the book and go through the words and think, oh, I never really knew what that word meant. Okay? And then the final piece of your puzzle, you could write down some words that make me think. Sometimes Jigsaw Jones tells jokes that have double meanings, and I always have to think about some of the things Jigsaw Jones says. But I know a couple of the characters, said some things, maybe some words that maybe you didn't know, or maybe they acted a certain way. Maybe there was an adjective that you didn't understand, a really big word or something like that. So you could write some of those words down and just create your own puzzle. So if you don't have a printer, it's okay. Just take a plain piece of paper, draw a puzzle just like this or any way that you want, and see if you can write a list of those words that this describes. And then boys and girls, one more thing. We'll be back together next week to Zoom. Before, when I was talking to you about our schedule for the rest of the book club, I think I made a mistake. I know I did. I told you next week would be our last week, but I think next week won't be our last week. On the next Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be finishing up the book, the first meeting, and then we'll be rating it on the second day. And just talking about it. Just talking about the book and rating it, and you're going to say why you think it was good or not good. Maybe you're not going to give it a star. And then the following Tuesday on July 21st is when we'll have our book party. So that's the way I think things are going to go. So until I see you next week, you have a great day, boys and girls. See you soon.